Okay, good morning. Come on, you got to do better than that. Yeah, we ran out of coffee. Yes, good morning. So if you guys are ready, we want to get started with our the first session. But I wanted to see a show of hands. How many of you in the room were here last year, attended the keynote session? Wow, quite a few. Those who didn't, you missed something, let me tell you. So last year, as Nidhi was saying, this year our focus, our theme is decoding the future. Last year was, again, something similar. We're kind of trying to focus on AI and see where that's leading us. And last year, we decided to focus on, in the keynote session, focus on the very building block layer of AI, like the foundational technology, which is the semiconductor, the GPU, and how that's not only enabled AI, but also how it put fire under AI. And to do that, we obviously had no better person than the founder and CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang. And that's why I wanted to check who was there, because that was a great show. But that was all fine. This year, we decided to flip it and wanted to look at what this future means from the top layer, not the semiconductor chip level. So, and which is why we have two speakers here. We can't get better than that, so I'm going to introduce them. But we want to see how AI is really adding to the top line or bottom line, or is it really bring the ROI? Is it cost effective? If maybe some of you know, the ChatGPT 4.0 was trained, when it was trained, it chewed through $100 million worth of electricity. Go figure. And I heard that one query in ChatGPT to summarize financial reports of 60,000 public companies burns about $200,000 of electricity, just one query. So there's this other side of AI, that's also should be in the context. So to bring that perspective as to what AI means to the enterprise, to the C-suites, to the industry in general, and to people like us, consumers. So we have two speakers, and they're the speakers who are directly connected to all the enterprises and their C-suites. So we have from Accenture, Karthik Narain. He is, let me introduce him first. He is the group CEO of Accenture Technology Group, and also he's the CTO of Accenture. And Karthik led the initiative in Accenture to put this cloud-first initiative to bring AI to the enterprise. And if you don't know, Accenture's AI and data business is in multi-billion-dollar. So we want to hear from Karthik as to what this decoding the future means to the enterprise. And to join Karthik, we have, again, someone who is in the thick of AI. If, other than GPU, there's anything else that's enabling data, AI is data. So we have co-founder and CEO of Databricks, who doesn't need any introduction, and I'm not going to spend time on that. But we want to find out how enterprise is thriving on Databricks' data intelligence platform. So with that, Karthik, I would like to, and Ali, come and join us, folks.
After you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I'll let Karthik take over, and they're going to be in our conversation, so that's what we decided to do so that they can unpack each other. So let's see who does better.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm always the sidekick to the stardom of Ali.
Oh, it's the other way around. You know it.
All right. So first of all, thank you, Ali, for joining, and thanks for the great introduction. And this is a show. I don't think there's any other alumni meet can be done in Santa Clara Convention Center. We generally is for really, really big scaled multi-thousand events. And I've not seen an alumni meet that has entry tickets. So it is something. So we are glad to be here. So before, we're going to touch on decoding the future, specifically using data and AI. But before we talk about the future, we should touch a little bit about the past of what has happened in the last 12 months or the last year or so, because it's been fast-paced, exciting. So Ali, let me start with you sharing your perspectives of what you've seen in the last 12 to 18 months in terms of data, AI, and all these technologies that you are building and you're seeing in enterprises.
Yeah, happy to do that. And yeah, super excited to be here. So look, I think what's happened is that in 2023 was the year where the market just priced in the next 10 years of AI development into 1 year. They assumed all jobs would be gone. They assumed that maybe we will invent some kind of super god in 2023, and the whole world will never be again the same, and it's going to happen in 2023. So that didn't quite happen. So what's going on in large, I would say enterprises is many of them built chatbots, and they wanted to get them in production. There was a food fight inside organizations for who owns AI. I own AI in my company. No, this guy's trying to own AI, and and there was like sort of a power grab inside every organization of who's the AI guy or gal. But what has happened, what I think the market has arrived at now is that now people sort of realize, okay, AI is gonna have a big impact, but it's not just building a chatbot. We need to build real tech that actually powers production use cases for my organization that drive significant revenue. So one of the CIOs of a Fortune 500 told me, we're not just gonna build chatbots. If we're gonna do Gen AI, it better bring in $1 billion revenue for me. If it brings in $1 billion revenue for me, I'm interested in doing it. And that's gonna be a real investment. We have to build something real that works on my use case. So just to contrast it, I think last year, the focus of all these generative AI algorithms, we talked about GPT-4, GPT-5, what all the research labs were doing, where they were building AIs that they evaluated on, high school tests, or can you pass the MCAT, or how do you do with the bar exam for a lawyer? But this year, now we want to know, can you pass really high quality for this particular task that I want my product to do for my business? Okay, and the truth is, in many of the cases, the accuracy and the quality is not quite where we need it to be to beat the humans. Like we need it to be 95%, 97%, so on. So that's the focus now. And everybody's sort of laser focused on bringing those production use cases that matter for their business with high accuracy and quality and reasonable cost for those tasks that matter for that enterprise. Not whether you can do this MMLU, which is massive multi-language understanding, or GSM 8K, which is grade school math, 8,000 questions. That's like irrelevant. So that's what I'm seeing. It's kind of the shift from maybe a little bit overexcited to now like, okay, let's get real.
Yeah. Again, very, very similar views from where we stand. There is a clear shift from experimentation to production to scale, and these terminologies are being very defined and defined terms as people say in organizations and contracts, because if you listen to the industry analysts, Wall Street analysts, watch CNBC, they're talking about how many production use cases, how many scaled use cases. So that shift is happening. The second thing that, like you rightly said, the amount of shift and the churn that has happened in technologies, the C-suite is still really, really optimistic about AI and the power of AI. But there's also a big worry about AI technology obsolescence, because 18 months ago or 24 months ago, everybody thought that, okay, there's going to be one chatbot that could solve all problems. And then they went into these chatbots could be embedded within existing applications, whether that's Copilot in Microsoft Suite, Joule in SAP, Now Assistant, ServiceNow, Einstein in Salesforce, and several such things. That was the next thing. And the third element was there was multiple large language models that came in, and then there was proprietary closed source model versus the open source model, and now the rise of agents. And do you do agents in a SaaS platform, or do you build agents? So the amount of churn, everybody is believing that this is going to be a big investment, but by the time I finish the project, which is going to be a 6 months project, am I obsolete? And this is not. AI technology is learning and AI models is not upgradable. You just don't, transplant a new brain into somebody and have the same learning. You have to teach it once again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that question. And the third element that we are seeing is the maturity is different in different markets. I would say North America is in the maturing stage, which means that they're moving to scale, thinking about responsible use of AI, thinking about security, and all of that stuff. Europe was waiting for the regulations to come in. Now that the regulations have come in, that is forcing, so they're in a catching up phase. And Asia PAC market, I think I would term it as bold. They are truly not even starting with productivity and cost aspects. They are jumping into directly new revenue streams, new products, AI-first products, and so on and so forth. So.
And they don't really have the same type of regulation, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we've had both in the US and in Europe. There's been a lot of talk of regulation. And in California, we had SB 1047 and so on. But it seems Asia, it's different, right?
Yeah, it's totally different. And the other aspect, I won't call it regulation, but doing it at a country level thinking is sovereign AI clouds are getting created because every country is thinking, for decades or centuries, every country has been holding on to their own secret sauce, which is their culture, their language, how they work. Can all of this be encapsulated into a sovereign AI foundation upon which every enterprise within that country can build? And countries, whether the countries in the Middle East are doing it, Singapore is always ahead, is doing, India is thinking about it in a big way. So all of that is going on. But with that, what do you see as challenges that enterprises are going to go through, Ali, and what do you think would be some easy mitigation or ways that they could mitigate?
Yeah, I think the problem is that, all of this AI, so, builds on really, really good data foundation. So I can just tell you guys, this is kind of confidential, but our largest customers now at Databricks were customers we didn't have 2 years ago. And they're AI companies. This is research labs, okay? So they're just shooting up in how much they're using us for data processing. So that's no surprise. Basically, to train these AI models, you need massive, 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 massive data sets. So if we're going to do the same things in the enterprises, in the rest of the Fortune 500 or Global 2000, you need to get the data foundation right. You need to get all of the different data sources that you need in the enterprise. These are proprietary data sets. These are the ones that they're not on the internet. This very confidential information, risk data, electronic medical record data, so on and so forth. You have to get that. You need all of the data, so it can't be locked into classic, data warehouses. You need all the unstructured data, structured data, all of these things in one place. So that's number one. Number two, you need to have a strategy around how you're going to secure it, the privacy of it, because you have to have really good governance on that, because you don't want by mistake to have a model spit out some confidential data or some private data, or give someone access to something that they shouldn't have access to. So you got to get this basically data foundation right. So unfortunately, you have to kind of go back and invest even more in your data platform and your data basics before you get that right. And that, unfortunately, in Global 500 and Global 2000 it's far from perfect. Like, they have legacy systems. They've been around for 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. There's different departments. They have acquisitions they've done, so they're subsidiaries. Each of them have different CIOs. They're running it differently. So we really need to invest more in data. And sometimes the patience is not there because they're saying, hey, I want to get to the AI now. My CEO is telling me I need this thing in 6 months and I need to be in production. But at the same time, I don't want to get breached. And there were cyber attacks. And privacy is super important. And by the way, tell me about the regulation. So the way forward, I think, is invest in the basic data platform and get that right. And to do that, you need to have the know-how to do this. So I'm curious. You guys are helping companies again and again and again succeed with this. How do you make sure that they have the know-how and that they have a learning culture and that the company sort of set up? You can't just drop this technology on an old company and expect them to get to the future.
Absolutely, you're right, and there is a roadmap that every company needs, and there's a bit of impatience about getting to value, which is the right kind of impatience. Otherwise, it'll be proof of concept galore, experimentation galore. So, the way we think about a roadmap for our customers is that take advantage of the low-hanging fruits. And the low-hanging fruits are these embedded AI that you have in the form of co-pilots and some simple agent development platforms and so on and so forth, because you could get productivity. If you were clicking 5 screens to understand in this quarter what are the top 20 deals that are in the brink of either they will close or they will not close, what are the things that need to be done to increase the probability of closure, who are the sales teams who are owning those opportunities, and who are their managers and how they need to enable, and what message you want to send. If a CEO needs to do all of these things, they need to spend 30 to 45 minutes clicking through screens, understanding and drafting, finding out who's the opportunity owner, the manager, the message, and so on and so forth. You could do this with a prompt in your sales orchestration system, saying find the 20 opportunities that are medium probability of closure, and and send a note to the leaders and the opportunity owners with actions that they need to take. And it could be one prompt and it could get executed. So that's the low-hanging fruit. The second thing is, we are telling every organization that yes, you are getting more and more frontier models, bigger models and all of that stuff that has bigger brains, bigger cognition, is able to do things that the previous models did not do. But if every company has the same models, how do you differentiate? Your proprietary data is your competitive advantage. That's the second thing that we say. You guys were way ahead when you came up with a narrative that you want data for looking at the past as well as the future, both for BI and AI. But preparing, that is, even for storing, you wanted a strategy that's both, but to prepare data for AI is very different from preparing the data for BI. Preparing the data for BI is only with the data that you have. Preparing the data for AI will require preparing data that you do not have, whether it's synthetic data and other things that you need to create. So how do you do that? And then how do you build AI systems that take advantage of those embedded AIs, co-pilots of various flavors that are there in the market, and also fine-tune and build your own proprietary AI that's just yours, that brings the competitive differentiation, is the second thing that companies need to build on. And I like the term that Ali and team came up with called compound AI systems, which basically I liked it because we're not trying to say it's complex AI, even though it's complex. We're not saying complex. It's compounding effect that you would get when you put all of these together and take advantage of it. So that's the second thing that people need to do. And the third element is, for all of this to work, this needs to work in your existing IT infrastructure. And every company has a signature IT footprint, call it their digital core. And that digital core was built, every application, every system was built with a human as the user. So user experience, design, everything is thinking that a human is going to interact with us. Now you need to redesign this for both humans and machines to interact with this. So that's kind of the roadmap. And it is complex, unlike going to cloud, which immediately gave you a ROI because you were exiting data centers, shutting down old iron over there. This one is difficult, and that is why organizations need to do this and in parallel look at where they would find value.
You call it engineer tech. You've used this term engineer tech.
Exactly.
What do you mean by that?
So we think that AI is going to be available in 3 forms. It's going to be consumable form, which is the co-pilots and chatbots and so on and so forth. You're also going to get it in a very configurable form, whether it's agent force and other things, where you could, the data set is similar, but you're just accelerating certain process. The reason why we are calling this as the competitive differentiation is going to come through engineered tech is because if you look at a bank, every bank has its own proprietary, architecture and algorithm for their risk modeling.
Yeah.
Okay? The similar thing needs to be done for their own AI stuff, where they need to prepare their data. And I like to use the word, they need to refine their data.
Yeah.
For it to be available for these models. Number two, they need to take AI models, various kind for various use cases, which are perfected for higher accuracy, better latency, explainability, security, depending on that use case. And then in real time, you need to know which model to use for what scenario in what kind of data adoption, whether it is zero-shotting or using some kind of zero-shotting with a semantic layer or fine-tuned data. And to do this, one needs to build this compound AI system, which is completely engineered tech. And that is the reason the companies that are benefiting the most using this are companies that have strong AI scientists within their organization, whether that is Temu or what is that fast fashion retailer that's out there, or TikTok or Meta or Google or Amazon from a shopping, or Uber.
They've invested long time.
Because they've invested and they are building for that competitive differentiation.
Yeah.
And that is the reason this needs to be an engineered tech with an eye for reinventing how work was done in the past, rather than just attaching AI to the existing ways of working.
I mean, I usually joke that Elon Musk, if he wants to build self-driving mode into his Tesla, he's not just going to call GPT-4 and be done.
Exactly.
Every car manufacturer is not just going to call GPT-4 or GPT-5 and then they're done. It requires LiDAR, sensors, engineered tech. It needs to be tested. It needs to slowly be rolled out to production because you can't just roll out a new version of the AI and then there's accidents on every road.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with every AI use case that really matters, that's critical, and in sort of in production, we will need to do the same thing.
Totally.
Makes sense.
So let's shift to the workforce or people. There's a lot of talk about job displacements and what it means to people. Where do you see the AI and the role of AI with people, and also the concepts of data privacy, responsible use of information? How do you see organizations going about it? What are the role tech, the hardcore tech is playing in it, and what are the role organizations need to play in it?
Yeah, I think again, it's that's a great question. Last year, everybody was like, oh my God, all the jobs are going away. And what are we going to tell our kids? What are they going to do? And the world is going to be completely crazy. But here's one way to look at it. Even if we invent the most amazing AI ever, let's call it GPT-9, okay, and it can do everything, and it's a small model and it's very cheap. If no human uses it, then it actually will have zero impact on the planet. Okay, nothing happens, literally. So we have to get humans to adopt this in every company, in every job, throughout the planet. And humans don't change their ways overnight. Okay, we go to work, we do the things the same way we did it. How long did it take until PCs and people learned to become literate with computers and the digital revolution happened? We're still going through it, and many companies are still proud to go from paper into putting something digitized into a computer. So same thing is going to happen here. We need the humans to start adopting this technology, otherwise it's absolutely useless. And so I think that takes time. I don't think that happens overnight, but I think next year, hopefully, we can get folks to use more and more of this technology to augment themselves, to see the productivity gains that they would get from this technology. And I think it's going to be a longer journey. We need to educate them. We need to give them tools that actually work for them. And if there's any impedance mismatch, if there are any gaps in okay, you gave me this tool, I'm going to use it, I get it, it's very smart, it's intelligent, but it doesn't quite match what I need to do or how I enter this into the system or what I needed. There's a little gap. I'm going to throw it away and say, I'm not using that. And you say, why didn't you use that? I say, well, it doesn't really actually work. Why doesn't it really work? Well, for my job, it doesn't work for this particular aspect. So I think we have to work very hard both as technologists, as business leaders, in companies to get the humans that work, the human workforce, to adopt the technology and to make sure that it is a fit for them so that they can use it. And I think what's going to happen is, I don't think we're going to say jobs go away. I don't think we're going to see any categories of jobs go away. But if we are lucky, which I think we will be, we will see productivity gains start coming in. So like that job that you used to do, you can do it a little bit more efficiently. And some of the complete boring toil of that job, maybe that portion of it slowly goes away. Just like computers helped us get smarter and smarter and smarter, same thing here. AI will slowly start doing some of that manual thing that you would do. Go fetch this from over there, enter it here, do this calculation. Maybe it can do that automatically for you. And we will see the productivity gains. And actually, as we see that, as humans start adopting this technology, I think also some of the fear will go away. Because they say, actually, it's pretty cool. It's actually helping me. It's actually better. Let me show you how it works. You should use it too. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know. So I actually think that the mentality will also shift in the job market. Over the next 10 years, it will have effects on the labor market. It will affect, what types of jobs we need and so on. But it's going to take a long time. So it's not like any job category goes away overnight or anything like that. But yeah, the shapes of jobs will change. Some of the things, percentage-wise, reduce, and are done by AI. And new jobs come up that, people who know how to use these systems. And there are new things you need to do. Just like Excel revolutionized and created all these jobs for analysts and financial people that are sitting in Excel all day long, or whatever the tool they use, same thing will happen here. That's how I see it. I don't know, what are you saying? And what are you guys doing? And also, I'm curious, what are you doing also internally also, not just how you're helping your clients? You're going through the same journey also at Accenture, right?
Totally. I think the way we look at it is, any good AI strategy will have to have two elements to it. Value and people, okay? And value in future will again be, at least in two dimensions. One is efficiency, productivity. The other dimension is growth, customer intimacy, experience, and so on and so forth, through new products and so on and so forth. And we will see this shift happening, very fast. And as one starts delivering, the others, slow rolls and starts delivering, and when that catapults, the other thing, delivers more. So that's from the value angle. The second angle is people, and you were so right. This is all about reinventing work. It's not about replacing worker. And more organizations are realizing that, from that fear to, some organizations even trying to create business cases of how much, people reduction that's going to happen. They're all reimagining how work is going to happen. There were bank tellers. There are lesser bank tellers, but there are people who are bankers who are helping, you manage your money in a better way today. And the role of bankers have changed from just, giving you the cash at the counter. So we see that there's going to be a huge amount of training and re-enablement that's going to happen for all of these, the existing people, in the way the work is going to be redefined. That's number one. Number two, from a people perspective, we also believe that those people will operate as employers or managers of AI. Because AI is like a smart, well-educated, college kid. Intern that is going to be fast learning than anybody else. But you always need to get the work done from that intern. Somebody is giving, and when that intern is going wrong, you're constantly teaching.
Needs supervision, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? And this is also for the intern, a manager is only teaching the organizational value and culture, but the intern was taught about world values and culture by their parents from the birth to the time that they went to college. Here, the employer or the people have to teach the world knowledge as well, in terms of, how do you shift from the IQ heavy AI model to a EQ balanced AI model. All of that needs to be done. And the way teaching is going to happen for this is not through instruction set, but by giving data. So a lot of employees who were doing certain tasks now will do it in a different way, but they are also going to become the data refiners. They need to constantly think about what kind of data do I need to take, how do I refine that data, and how do I provide that data to that AI model so that it starts performing better. The only way AI is going to learn is through data, because there is no way to write an instruction set inside that AI model. So that is how the users or the workers, employees who are doing the work are going to do. And there's going to be a lot more employees that are going to be required to write, AI code and these engineered tech and all of that stuff. So we believe that the share of technology as a share of GDP is going to go up. There's going to be more AI engineers that are going to be required, and there's going to be more IITians that we need, in every organization, in Databricks, in Accenture, in every company that's using AI. All of them will need more and more AI software engineers to be able to do this.
Yeah, we hire, by the way, just a plug, it's amazing to see. There's a shift that's happened, just switching gears a little bit for a second. There's a shift that I feel has happened, in India, which is 20, 30, 40 years ago, folks from IIT, the IT toppers would, maybe come to the United States. These days, many decide to stay, And so you can hire just extremely, phenomenally good people, really, really smart people in India, and they'll just stay there, and the pay is good, and so that's what we've tapped into, and they're putting AI first. There's they're fearless. I think there's also something cultural going on, because I think just India has, hasn't had this recessionary climate and so on, so there is a boldness, and there's a kind of, hey, the future is bright and you can accomplish anything you like. So I think investing in India in particular has been, I wanted to say this earlier, when you said Asia is different, it's much more bold.
Yeah.
I think different parts of Asia are different. I think India sticks out right now, right? I mean, Japan is different. Japan and India are not the same boldness right now, right? But in India, you really can see it. And we've actually shifted our strategy in hiring now to just focus on hiring a lot in India, and we specifically target IIT. And it's phenomenal. We hired 100 people last year from, we actually focus on IIT primarily, but also the number of applications we're getting is amazing. We got something like 1,400 applications just for 20 job openings from, IIT Kharagpur. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what happens in how India actually invests in AI and how that's going to actually help. I don't think, we'll find those people coming over here anymore. That's my sense. They'll stay there. Are you seeing similar thing? Or?
Yeah, very, very, very similar thing. And, recently we had, Narendra Modi visit here, and, there was this huge, gathering of technology leaders who were going and driving this, the AI agenda, technology agenda, from a global perspective, but also specific to India. The last question I would ask you is, what are your predictions for 25?
Okay, predictions for 25. Let me think. So I would, so here's what I would say. I guess I'm going to cheat and throw a bunch of things back. I think that it's going to be peak year of trough of disillusionment, in the sense that, I think there's been, chips and, many things. There's been just so much investment happening, and I think people have been too eager to see the results too fast. So I think we're going to see the peak of trough of disillusionment next year. But if you then squint and look carefully, the really impactful use cases that are not chatbots, legal practice, software engineering, support, you name it, all of those, I think we're going to see those slowly come up. This is like when you saw Amazon in 2000 or Google Search in 99 or something like that. We'll see slowly those companies and those technologies and those revolutions that are going to have huge impact. In 10 years, when we look back, we're going to say, oh my God, in 2025, that was like a little startup. It seemed impressive, but now it's like this trillion-dollar behemoth. So I think we're going to see that kind of the seeds of those start growing next year. And then final thing I will say is I think it's going to be a big year for voice. There's been a lot of language, focus on language, LLMs, large language models. we're going to see that voice is going to be, we type a lot still. We have a lot of keyboards. I think it's a little bit going to be the beginning of the end for the keyboard. The death of the keyboard. Those are my predictions. What are your predictions?
Yeah. I think the pivot from productivity to growth is going to be a big thing. Rather than saying it as a pivot, it's a balance.
Yep.
Today, the echo chamber is productivity, cost reduction, and so on. There'll be a good balance with growth as a big indicator. The second thing is companies, rather than trying to solve the same general problem, companies will shift to solving specialized problem. There would be sports franchises wanting to create models that will give sports analysis or sports strategy. There'll be companies, media companies that will create new articles, new editorials based on their own IP of past elements. So there is going to be move to very specialized AI models that will require these engineered tech and compound AI systems and so on and so forth. The third thing I would say is there'll be a bigger shift as things scale to production, a bigger systematic shift to responsible AI. Today, responsible AI is, one direction, the legal playing a role. You cannot address this by regulations and checklists and somebody saying whether they followed it or did not follow it. They do not know whether they are violating or following, so there's going to be a systematic way in doing this. Talent is going to be on training, who has the best talent and who has the talent that is ready to learn and adopt is going to be winners. And I think the big prediction from my side is that it's going to be a year of AI specialization. Companies will want to shine saying, how much am I specializing? And that is not using AI as an analytical tool or a system of intelligence. Using AI to operate a company is going to be the level of specialization that enterprises will go.
So is it fair to say, basically, from chatbots that made us a little bit more efficient and cut cost, to actually specialized AI use cases that actually will have massive impact and start driving new growth areas and revenue growth for these businesses and the people who can build these?
Exactly. And we believe that, because of this every 6 monthly technology obsolescence that we are talking about, and also the fact is, events that happened once every 100 years or 50 years or 60 years are happening every year. Last 4 years is pandemic followed by full-scale wars. Then massive inflation. In 60s you can have inflation. You did not have as much predictive intelligence.
Highest interest rates in 40, 50 years.
So all of this is happening. So which means that your enterprise as an organization, you need to be reinvention ready. I was with Jensen, and Jensen said this in a very nice way. He said that he was talking to a car manufacturer, and they were talking about what kind of car would consumers prefer 25 years from now. The answer is no one knows. But what you could do is, can you build a factory that is ready to keep making cars that is in tune with the customer preference every third year? So this is, if you take that to an enterprise IT infrastructure, how do you create a reinvention-ready infrastructure that's ready for all these changes? And the only way you do an end-to-end IT infrastructure is an AI-first infrastructure that's continuously learning and adopting. Yeah. So AI specialization at an enterprise level is going to be a biggest differentiation.
So survival of the adaptable.
Exactly. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks. Thank you, Arnab.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more big hand. Come on.
Thank you.